I never thought I'd find myself here, sharing the story of my marriage unraveling like a cheap sweater. My name is Jake, and I was married to Sarah for 5 years. At first, everything felt perfect. We made each other laugh, shared dreams about our future, and I thought we were in sync. But over the last year, I began to notice subtle shifts in her behavior. The spark that once lit up our evenings had faded into a dull flicker. It started with ladies' night. Sarah had this tradition of gathering her friends every Saturday evening for wine and gossip. I was always the only guy allowed in the house, sitting in the corner with my beer, listening to their chatter. It seemed innocent enough at first. I figured it was just a way for her to bond with her friends. But as the months rolled on, I noticed a change. She'd come home late, her makeup slightly smudged and her hair tousled like she'd been having a little too much fun. She always had a flimsy excuse ready. "Oh, we just lost track of time." Or, "You know how it is with girls, time flies when you're having fun." At first, I pushed aside my unease. I trusted her, right? But then I started picking up on small things. Her phone was always face down. She'd become more secretive about her texts, and when I tried asking about her night out, she'd brush me off with a sharpness that felt out of place. Instinctively, I began to investigate. I wasn't proud of it, but I felt like I had to know what was going on. One weekend, I decided to take a different approach. I was supposed to work late, but I took an earlier lunch and came home unexpectedly. The house was quiet, but I could hear muffled voices from the living room. I crept closer, my heart racing. As I peeked around the corner, I caught sight of her with a friend, Sarah's best friend, Lily. They were laughing, and as I strained to hear, I caught a name that sent chills down my spine. Mark. Mark was a guy I had seen her texting more often lately, and I felt a surge of dread as I realized he was the only guy she had mentioned outside of our circle. I stood frozen, my mind racing as they went on about this amazing night they had. It hit me like a ton of bricks. She was cheating on me. They didn't notice me until I accidentally knocked over a stack of mail by the door. The laughter stopped instantly, and I felt the air shift as Sarah turned to look at me, her expression shifting from surprise to something I couldn't quite place, fear maybe. "Jake, you're home early," she stammered, her voice too high. I watched as panic flickered across her face and my heart sank further. I didn't even know how to respond. The words wouldn't come. Instead, I took a deep breath and confronted her. "What's going on, Sarah?" Her eyes darted toward Lily, and suddenly I was overwhelmed with emotions, hurt, anger, betrayal. I wanted to shake her, to make her see what she was doing to me. Instead, I felt paralyzed as I waited for a response. It was like she had rehearsed her lines, ready to spin some elaborate tale to save herself. "Oh, come on, Jake. It's just a harmless get-together. You know how girls can get a little dramatic. We were talking about work, life, and just venting, that's all," she said, her eyes wide with feigned innocence, but I could see through her act. My heart raced, but I felt a strange calmness take over. I needed to hear her admit it. "Were you talking about Mark?" I pressed, my voice steady. The question hung in the air, thick with tension. She faltered, her facade cracking. I could see her scrambling for words, her mind working furiously to craft a believable excuse, but there was nothing she could say that would fix this. In that moment, my anger boiled over and I could feel tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. How could she? How could she betray me like this? I thought we had something real. As she opened her mouth to speak again, I cut her off. "Save it, Sarah. I don't want to hear your lies." I turned away, feeling both relieved and crushed. I had just exposed the truth, yet all I wanted to do was curl up and disappear. Instead, I walked out the door, leaving her behind, my world shattered. My heart felt heavy, and the weight of betrayal settled deep within me. I had uncovered the ugly truth, but what would I do next? The next few days passed in a blur. I stayed at a friend's place to clear my head. I didn't want to face Sarah, not yet. I needed space to process what had just happened. I felt like I was living in some kind of nightmare where nothing made sense. Friends reached out, concerned about my absence, and I gave them vague excuses about needing some time off work. I couldn't tell them the truth, not yet. I wasn't ready to relive it all, to put words to the pain I felt. During those days, I couldn't shake the memory of Sarah's face when she saw me that Saturday. The shock, the fear. There was a part of me that wanted to believe she was just caught off guard, that she hadn't meant to betray me. But deep down, I knew better. The truth was, she had been lying to me for a while now, weaving a web of deceit that had finally unraveled right before my eyes. One afternoon, as I sat on my friend Mike's couch, I found myself scrolling through my phone, searching for any trace of Sarah's affair. I went through her social media, looking for posts that might hint at her rendezvous with Mark. That's when I stumbled onto a picture of Sarah and Lily at a bar, arms draped around each other. The caption read, "Girls just want to have fun. Here's to us and our amazing nights out." My stomach twisted as I tried to analyze every detail, the way Sarah smiled, the way she looked so carefree. How could she be so happy while I was left here feeling completely defeated? I couldn't shake the anger that bubbled inside me. I decided it was time to confront her again, but this time I wouldn't walk away without getting answers. I needed to know everything, the details, the timeline, the depth of her betrayal. When I returned home that evening, I found Sarah sitting on the couch, her face buried in her hands. She looked up when I entered, her eyes red and puffy, like she'd been crying. Something in me softened at the sight, but then I remembered the betrayal. The anger surged back to the surface. "Sarah," I said, my voice low but steady, "we need to talk." Her face fell and she nodded, brushing away tears. "I know, I'm so sorry, Jake. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I could handle it," she trailed off, her voice breaking. "Handle what?" I snapped, the frustration bubbling over. "You thought you could handle cheating on your husband. What were you thinking, Sarah?" "I was," she exclaimed, her voice rising. "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to happen. Mark and I connected in a way I didn't expect. So you thought it was okay to keep lying to me?" I interrupted, my heart racing. "You expected me to just sit around and accept your lies while you were off getting intimate with another man." She opened her mouth to speak but quickly shut it again, realizing she had no good excuse. I felt neglected, Jake. You were always working late and I just wanted to feel desired again. Mark made me feel special and I got caught up in it. I never meant to hurt you." Hurt. It felt like a punch to the gut. I didn't know how to process her words. I had been working hard, trying to provide for us, but it never crossed my mind that she'd find someone else in my absence. "What about our vows, Sarah? What about everything we built together?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. "I know," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I messed up. I'm so sorry. Can we just work through this? I'll do anything to make it right." I wanted to scream at her, to tell her that there was no way back from this, but part of me still hung on to the memories of happier times. The love we once shared felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the betrayal. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Sarah. You broke my trust," I said slowly, trying to keep my emotions in check. "I need time to think." Her sobs filled the room, but I felt nothing. I had given her everything, and in return she had given me lies. I walked away, leaving her there, the tears continuing to flow as I realized that this was just the beginning of my emotional turmoil. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I was filled with anger, sadness, and a sense of betrayal that threatened to drown me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smile and the way she had looked at me, like I was the only one. Now that image was tainted by the reality of her infidelity. I had to make a decision, and it wasn't going to be easy. The path ahead was uncertain, and I felt utterly lost. As the days turned into a week, the weight of Sarah's betrayal pressed heavily on my chest. I was living in a limbo of confusion, torn between the love I once felt for her and the rage that bubbled beneath the surface. I had to make a decision, and it felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to leap or retreat. Friends reached out, concerned about my well-being. They invited me out, wanting to distract me from my pain. I appreciated their support, but every laugh and smile felt like a betrayal to myself. I couldn't shake the feeling that while I was out trying to have fun, Sarah was likely off with Mark, laughing and enjoying life without me. I avoided the parties and gatherings, preferring to sit alone in my dimly lit apartment, replaying that confrontation over and over in my mind. One evening, I decided to reach out to Mike. He was one of my closest friends, and I needed to vent. We met at our favorite bar, where the atmosphere was buzzing with laughter and chatter, a stark contrast to my mood. I ordered a whiskey, hoping it might numb the ache. "Hey man, you look like hell," Mike said, looking concerned as he took a seat across from me. "What's going on?" I sighed deeply and poured out my heart, recounting everything, my suspicions, the confrontation, Sarah's excuses, and how I felt completely blindsided. Mike listened intently, nodding as I spoke, his expression shifting from disbelief to anger on my behalf. "Dude, that's messed up. You deserve better than this," he said, his voice low. "I can't believe she would do that. You've always been there for her." I took a long sip of my drink, the burn of the whiskey matching the heat in my chest. "I trusted her, you know. I thought we had something real. Now I don't even know who she is anymore." "Listen, it's okay to be angry. You have every right to feel that way, but you also need to think about what you want moving forward. Are you ready to end it?" he asked pointedly. I paused, staring into my glass as I thought about his question. Part of me wanted to walk away, to sever all ties and find someone who would value me. But another part of me clung to the hope that maybe we could work through it. Maybe she could change. But change didn't come without effort, and deep down, I knew it would take more than just words. "I don't know, man," I finally admitted. "I want to say yes, but there's so much history between us. We've been through so much together." Mike leaned in, his voice earnest. "But does that history outweigh the pain she's caused? You've got to think about yourself too, Jake. You deserve someone who respects you." His words hit me hard. I spent so much time considering Sarah's feelings, her perspective, that I had neglected my own. I realized it was time to put myself first, to confront the reality of our situation. That night I made a decision. I would confront Sarah again, not for her sake, but for mine. I needed to lay it all out on the table, my feelings, my anger, my desire for clarity. I wanted to understand if there was anything left worth salvaging, or if we were simply two people who had lost their way. When I got home, Sarah was sitting on the couch, fidgeting with her phone. She looked up as I walked in, anxiety written all over her face. "Jake, can we talk?" she began, but I interrupted her. "No, let me start," I said firmly, needing to take control of the conversation. "I've been thinking a lot lately. We need to be honest with each other about what we want." She nodded, biting her lip as she prepared for the worst. "Okay, I'm listening. I don't want to keep going in circles. I want to know if you still love me, if you think this can work. Because I'm not going to waste my time if you're still hung up on Mark," I said, my voice steady but laced. Motion, her expression fell, and I could see the conflict in her eyes. "I do love you, Jake. I made a mistake. I thought I was missing something I thought Mark could give me, but I realize now that it was a horrible choice." "But love isn't enough, Sarah," I interjected, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. "You shattered my trust. Trust is the foundation of any relationship. If that's gone, what do we have left?" I know," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "But I can change. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. Please, just give me another chance." Her desperation tugged at my heartstrings, but I couldn't ignore the reality of our situation. "What if I can't forgive you? What if I'm not ready to take you back?" She sat in silence, the weight of my words hanging heavily in the air. It was a moment of truth, and I could see the realization dawning on her. "I don't want to lose you, Jake. I'll show you, I'll prove to you that I can be better." I took a deep breath. "Proving it takes time. Sarah, I need to know you're serious about this. I can't go back to the way things were. I need to see tangible change." She nodded vigorously, a look of determination crossing her face. "I promise. I'll show you. Just please don't walk away." As I looked at her, I still felt a flicker of hope, but I also felt the dread of what lay ahead. I knew this wasn't going to be easy, and the road to rebuilding would be long and painful. But if there was any chance of salvaging what we had, I owed it to myself to give it a shot. Yet I was also painfully aware that I couldn't ignore the possibility of failure. As I walked away, I felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. This was only the beginning of a long, arduous journey, but as I stepped into the unknown, I was determined to find clarity, for better or for worse. The days that followed our confrontation felt surreal. I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, oscillating between hope and despair. Sarah had promised to change, and I found myself watching her every move, analyzing her actions for signs of sincerity. I wanted to believe her, but the wounds were still fresh, and the memories of her betrayal loomed over us like a dark cloud. For the first few days, Sarah made an effort to show me that she was committed to rebuilding our relationship. She cut off contact with Mark, deleted his number. She even went so far as to block him on social media. It felt like a step in the right direction, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was all too easy. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. One evening, while I was getting ready for bed, I heard Sarah on the phone in the other room. My heart raced as I listened in, instinctively knowing that I shouldn't invade her privacy, but curiosity got the better of me. I crept closer, trying to catch snippets of her conversation. "I know it was stupid, but I promise it's over. I really want to make this work with Jake," she said, her tone pleading. I felt the ground beneath me shift. She was talking to Lily. I couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. Was she confiding in her friend about our issues while I was trying to reconcile our marriage? I stepped back, conflicted about how to approach this. Did I confront her again? Did I express my concerns, or did I give her the benefit of the doubt? The whole situation felt suffocating. The next day I decided to bring it up. I sat her down, my heart pounding as I prepared to voice my concerns. "Sarah, I heard you talking on the phone last night," I said, keeping my tone even. "You were speaking to Lily about us." Her eyes widened and I could see the color drain from her face. "Jake, just let me finish," I interrupted, trying to keep my emotions in check. "I want to know what you talked about. If you're trying to fix things with me, then I need to be part of that conversation, not an outsider." She opened her mouth to respond, clearly struggling to find the right words. "It wasn't what you think. I was just venting, and Lily was trying to help me understand how to make things better between us." "Venting? So you're talking to your best friend about our problems instead of addressing them with me?" I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. "I thought we were supposed to be working together on this." "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to exclude you. I just thought she could offer a different perspective," she said, her voice quivering. I took a deep breath, trying to process her words. "You need to understand that I want to be part of this process. I want to know everything. Hiding things from me, even if you think it's harmless, doesn't help us rebuild trust. I need to know that I can rely on you, that you're not keeping secrets anymore." "I promise I'm not trying to keep secrets," she said softly, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm just trying to navigate this mess. It feels like we're tiptoeing around each other instead of confronting the issues head-on," I replied, my voice rising slightly. "You need to be more transparent with me. I can't do this if I feel like you're still hiding things." "I get it, and I'm sorry," she said, her sincerity evident. "I'll make sure to talk to you first. From now on, I don't want to lose you, Jake. I want to fight for us, I really do." As we talked, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. Maybe there was a chance for us yet. The road ahead was still fraught with uncertainty, but if we could be open and honest, perhaps we could work through this mess together. Yet, despite her promises, I still felt an undercurrent of suspicion. That nagging voice in my head wouldn't let me rest. I decided to do some digging of my own. I wasn't proud of it, but I felt compelled to protect myself. I wanted to know if she was being truthful. Over the next few days, I kept an eye on her phone. I didn't want to invade her privacy, but the urge to know was all-consuming. I noticed she was more careful with her phone, always keeping it out of my sight. It only fueled my paranoia. One night, as she took a shower, I found myself staring at her phone, the screen lighting up with a notification. It was a message from Lily. "Are you sure about this? You don't want to give him too much power?" I felt my stomach drop. Who was she to give advice? I read the message, each word feeling like a dagger in my heart. I wrestled with my conscience for a moment, but the anger inside me bubbled to the surface. I took a screenshot of the conversation, my hands shaking as I tried to maintain my composure. Whatever was left of my trust in Sarah was wearing thin. When she got out of the shower, I confronted her with the evidence. "What's this?" I asked, showing her the screen. "What does Lily mean by giving me too much power?" Her eyes widened in shock as she took in the message. "Jake, I can explain," she said, her voice trembling. "Explain what? That you're still confiding in her about our relationship instead of talking to me." I snapped, feeling the betrayal hit me once again. "I was just trying to make sense of everything," she pleaded, desperation evident in her voice. "I thought she could help me find the right words to say to you. but you're still treating me like I'm the enemy instead of your partner. I shouted, frustration spilling over. If you really want to fix this, you need to stop relying on her. You need to come to me with everything. I never meant to hurt you, I swear. She cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. I thought I was doing the right thing. Doing the right thing, this feels more like a betrayal than an attempt to fix things. In that moment, I felt the walls closing in. I was so tired of the lies, so exhausted from constantly questioning her. This was supposed to be about rebuilding trust, yet it felt like we were stuck in a cycle of hurt and disappointment. I took a step back, my heart pounding. I can't continue like this, Sarah. I don't want to feel like I'm fighting for a relationship that's slipping away. I'm trying, Jake, I really am, she exclaimed, reaching out for my hand. Don't give up on us. I met her gaze, searching for sincerity, for a hint of the woman I once loved. But the weight of her actions kept pulling me further away. I need a break, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. I need time to think without all this chaos. Her face fell and I saw the realization wash over her. You can't mean that, she said, her voice breaking. I do. I need to figure out what I want. This isn't working and I can't pretend that it is. I walked away, feeling the distance between us grow with each step. I felt like I was drowning in uncertainty, and the only thing I knew for sure was that things had to change. I had to take control of my life, my happiness, and for now, that meant stepping away from Sarah, if only for a little while. The road ahead was rocky, but I was determined to find clarity, even if it meant venturing into the unknown. The following weeks were some of the most challenging of my life. I moved into a small apartment, trying to put emotional distance between Sarah and me. I filled my days with work and nights with solitude. My friends rallied around me, offering support, but even their best efforts felt futile. The ache of betrayal was still too fresh, and I spent countless nights staring at the ceiling, lost in my thoughts. Every time my phone buzzed with a message from Sarah, I felt a surge of anxiety. I knew she was reaching out, trying to reconnect, but part of me wanted to ignore her completely. Each message was a reminder of a life that felt so broken. I found myself trapped in a cycle of indecision, torn between the desire to heal and the need to protect myself from further pain. One day, after a particularly long week, I received a text from Sarah that felt different. Can we meet? I need to talk, it read. I stared at the screen for a long time, weighing my options. I wanted to know what she had to say, but I wasn't sure if I was ready for the potential fallout. After some deliberation, I agreed. We decided to meet at a cafe we used to frequent, a place filled with memories of happier times. As I walked in, I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. The scent of coffee, the chatter of patrons, it all felt bittersweet. I spotted Sarah sitting at a corner table, her hands intertwined and a look of apprehension on her face. Hey, I said, forcing a smile as I took a seat across from her. Hey, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. There was an awkward silence as we both searched for the right words. I'm glad you reached out, I finally said, trying to break the tension. What's on your mind? She took a deep breath, visibly gathering her thoughts. I've been doing a lot of thinking since you left, she started, her gaze fixed on the table. I know I've made mistakes and I can't take back what I did to hurt you, but I want to show you that I can change. I leaned back slightly, my heart racing. Change takes time, Sarah. It's not something that happens overnight. I know, she said, looking up at me with sincerity in her eyes, but I've started going to therapy. I want to understand why I made the choices I did, and I want to work on myself, not just for us but for me too. The admission took me by surprise. I had hoped she would take steps to address her issues, but actually hearing it was different. Therapy, I asked, curiosity piqued. Why didn't you mention it before? I didn't want you to think I was just trying to fix our relationship superficially. I needed to start with myself first, she explained, her voice earnest. I studied her carefully, searching for any signs of deception. What have you learned so far? I pressed. I realized that I was seeking validation from others because I didn't feel worthy of love. I took you for granted, and I thought that escaping into another relationship would fill that void. It was wrong, and I know that now, she said, her eyes glistening with tears. As much as I wanted to believe her, I still felt the sting of betrayal. I appreciate that you're trying to work on yourself, but I need more than just words, Sarah. Trust isn't built with promises, it's built with actions. I understand, and I'm committed to showing you that I can be the partner you deserve, she replied, her voice growing more confident. I want to rebuild our relationship, brick by brick, and I'm willing to put in the work. I sat in silence, contemplating her words. I wanted to see her effort, but I wasn't sure if I was ready to let her back in completely. What if I'm not ready for that yet? What if I need time to process everything? Then I'll give you that time, she said softly. But I want to be there for you whenever you're ready. I don't want to pressure you, but I also don't want to give up on us. A part of me admired her determination, but another part of me felt overwhelmed. I had been hurt so deeply, and even the thought of letting her back into my life felt daunting. I need to see genuine change before I can consider taking that step, I said finally. You've got to show me that you're serious. Then I will, she said, determination in her eyes. I'll do whatever it takes. We spent the next hour talking more about our feelings, our memories, and the future we once envisioned together. As hard as it was to be vulnerable, I began to feel a flicker of connection rekindling. But in the back of my mind, doubt lingered. I knew actions spoke louder than words, and trust was something that could only be earned over time. As we wrapped up our conversation, Sarah reached out, gently squeezing my hand. I miss you, Jake. I miss us. I miss us too, I admitted, my voice thick with emotion. But I can't ignore what happened. I hope you understand that this isn't easy for me either. She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. I do. I just want the chance to prove that I can be better. After we parted ways, I felt a mix of hope and uncertainty. I was still cautious, but part of me wanted to believe that Sarah was on the path to healing. The next few weeks would be crucial in deciding if we could truly rebuild our relationship, or if it was time to accept that some things were beyond repair. As I lay in bed that night, I reflected on the conversation. I had taken a small step forward, but the path ahead was still clouded with doubt. I couldn't ignore the pain she had caused me, nor could I simply overlook the possibility of a brighter future. Whatever came next, I knew it was going to take time, patience, and above all, sincerity from both of us. And that was the hardest part, to continue moving forward while holding on to the hope that we could find our way back to each other, even after the betrayal. The following weeks felt like a careful balancing act. I was still living in my small apartment, but each interaction with Sarah seemed to build a fragile bridge between us. She continued her therapy sessions, diligently working on herself, and I could see glimpses of the woman I once loved. It was both encouraging and terrifying. We started meeting more frequently, each time discussing how she was progressing in therapy and what she was learning about herself. I listened attentively, wanting to believe in her sincerity. But with each candid conversation, the scars of betrayal still lingered, reminding me of how fragile our connection had become. One night, as I was preparing for dinner, Sarah knocked on my door, a smile lighting up her face. "Surprise, I made your favorite," she announced, holding up a takeout bag from our go-to restaurant. I couldn't help but smile at the gesture. "Wow, you're really trying to win me over, huh?" I teased lightly, trying to keep things light. "Just trying to show you that I care," she replied, her eyes sparkling. As we sat down to eat, the atmosphere felt different. It was more relaxed, and I found myself laughing at her stories about work and her friends, moments that reminded me of the time before everything had gone wrong. It felt good to enjoy each other's company, even if it was tinged with uncertainty. But then, as we cleared the table and headed to the living room, I felt the need to address something that had been weighing on my mind. "Sarah, can we talk about how we're moving forward?" I asked, my voice turning serious. "Of course," she replied, her expression shifting to one of concern. "I want to know what you envision for us. I feel like we're in this limbo, trying to rebuild but not clearly defining what that means," I said, hoping to gauge her thoughts. She nodded thoughtfully, her brow furrowed. "I've been thinking about that too. I want to take this slowly. I want us to rebuild trust step by step. Actions speak louder than words. And I hope that you can see the changes I'm making." "I appreciate that, and I'm willing to give this a chance," I said, my heart racing. But I need honesty, Sarah. I can't go through another betrayal. It would destroy me. I promise no more secrets, she said earnestly. I want to be open with you about everything. If I feel uncertain or if I'm struggling, I'll come to you. I don't want to hide anymore. Her words gave me a glimmer of hope. Okay, let's take it one day at a time, I suggested, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. But I also want to be honest with you. I'm still working through my feelings. I'm not sure when or if I'll fully trust you again. I understand, she replied softly, her eyes filled with empathy. Just know that I'm committed to putting in the work. You're worth it to me. As we talked, I began to feel a shift. Maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. The journey would be long and filled with challenges, but I was willing to face it if it meant finding the love we once shared. In the following weeks, Sarah kept her promise. She was more open about her feelings and included me in her therapy journey. We spent time together, exploring activities we once enjoyed, and I started to feel a sense of comfort return. The more she opened up about her vulnerabilities, the more I could see her growth. I found myself slowly letting my guard down. We began to reconnect, sharing laughter and intimate moments that felt genuine. I realized that while the scars of betrayal would always be there, they were beginning to heal, albeit slowly. It felt like we were forging a new path together, a path built on honesty and the lessons learned from our past mistakes. One evening, as we sat on my couch watching an old movie, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. I looked over at Sarah, who was completely engrossed in the film, her laughter infectious. It was a reminder of the love that had once defined us, and for the first time in a long while I felt hopeful. Hey, I said, breaking the comfortable silence. I just want you to know that I'm proud of you. You've come a long way. She turned to me, her expression softening. Thank you, Jake. That means a lot to me. I'm proud of us too. We've faced some tough moments, but we're still here. As I gazed into her eyes, I felt a flicker of the love that had once burned so brightly. It wasn't the same as before, but it was a start. We both knew that rebuilding trust would be an ongoing process, but I was willing to put in the effort. Moving forward, I made a promise to myself. No matter what happened, I would prioritize my own emotional well-being while supporting Sarah in her journey. I wouldn't allow myself to be blindsided again, but I also wouldn't close the door on the possibility of healing. In the weeks to come, we would continue to navigate the complexities of our relationship, one small step at a time. While the future remained uncertain, I felt a renewed sense of hope. We had both learned valuable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of communication. And so, as I settled back into the comfortable embrace of our shared laughter, I allowed myself to believe in second chances. Because sometimes, love isn't about avoiding the storms, it's about weathering them together, emerging stronger on the other side.